Well, the bingo cards keep coming through for 2025. Just yesterday, the VP of D&D stood down, Todd Kenrick was laid off from Wizards of the Coast, and Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins, two of the four people you could credibly argue are responsible for making D&D what it is today, were hired by Critical Role's publishing company, Darrington Press. Let's start with the WotC news first. Jess Lanzillo has left Wizards of the Coast after assuming the position of Vice President of Dungeons & Dragons just last year. Now, people leave companies all the time for a bunch of different reasons, but this departure is notable as another in an increasingly long list of very high-profile departures from Wizards of the Coast. That is a lot of very senior people gone in a very short amount of time. Perhaps more notable on the community side of things, though, is Todd Kenrick being laid off. You'll know this guy if you've ever watched a WotC announcement video. He's the person on the other side of the interviewee asking the questions in those ads. Although that is not really giving the dude the credit he deserves, Todd had a really cool YouTube channel back in the day where he did some real grassroots TTRPG journalism before the industry exploded. He's gonna be fine. He's got some nerdy riz. I hope he goes back for creating for himself, and obviously we're all wishing him the best. But with Todd gone, that makes kind of one of the last recognizable names or faces disappearing from Wizards of the Coast. There's still cool people working on the game, but not with the same level of public visibility. The star power, in terms of people your average D&D fan might recognize on the street, seems to be going from Wizards of the Coast. And if you're curious where it's going to, well, let's talk about the really big news. When Crawford and Perkins left Wizards of the Coast a couple of months ago, there was a lot of speculation about where they'd go next. Of course, they could just retire, they could join another company. My hope was that they made their own company and seized the profits of their labor for themselves. But honestly, this might be even better. They have joined Darrington Press, the publishing studio of Critical Role, responsible for games like Queen by Midnight, Candela Obscura, and, of course, Daggerheart. This is a monumental industry shakeup. You tell someone a year ago that this was happening and they would call you crazy. So let's talk about what it means for the industry, what it means for Daggerheart, what it doesn't mean for Daggerheart, and what it means for the future of Dungeons & Dragons.
By Jove, it's good to be British. Isn't that right, Wilburton?
Yes, my lord. Although the food's bad, and the weather's awful, and there's no work since the mine's done closed.
Nonsense, Wilburton. Britain is wonderful. Why, we have...
Does our nation suck, my lord?
By Jove, Wilburton, you're right. It's terrible to be British. We need to get out of here.
Where shall we go, my lord?
Why, to the land of fantasy, Wilburton. We need only follow one of my Chepeku maps. Just look at all these stunning TTRPG battle maps. Each one of them a sizzling font of inspiration. And look, I can even make trillions of different tokens for our TTRPG adventures with Chepeku tokens. And bring stunning art of every location to life with Chepeku scenes.
Oh, it's mighty pretty, my lord.
That's right, and I get access to all of them, with dozens of new tokens, maps, and scenes dropping every month on Chepeku.com with the Fantasy Bundle. Simply follow the link in the description, Wilburton, and you could have the same.
Wow, a map of my own. My father would be proud.
Oh, no, he wouldn't, Wilburton, but at least now you have great maps. Bring your TTRPGs to life with Chepeku maps, tokens, and scenes. Now all available as a bundle package at a discount on Chepeku.com. Link in description.
Okay, so let's start by addressing what all of this means for Daggerheart. Daggerheart is on the tip of everyone's tongue right now. It's Critical Role's new system, it's getting a ton of coverage, and Critical Role are playing it for their current campaign, Age of Umbra. Honestly, with the way things are looking, Daggerheart is going to be Critical Role's go-to system, at least for the moment. And yeah, it makes sense for them to promote their own system via their live plays rather than someone else's, like Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder. That said, I think the internet is wrong on the coverage that they are giving this situation. Everyone's talking about how Perkins and Crawford will impact Daggerheart. But guys, Daggerheart's already dropped. It's done, at least for now. I'm sure it will get expansions and stuff, but as a system, it is realized. People seem obsessed with this idea that whatever new system comes along will be the D&D killer. Maybe this game will be D&D but better, and it'll slay the dragon. But honestly, I think that's a very narrow-minded perspective on what our community can be. It assumes there's always going to be a monopolizing force in the TTRPG industry, and at the moment that's D&D, but maybe if something came along that killed D&D, then there'd be a new monopolizing force, and that would be better somehow. If you look at the world that way, then maybe this does make sense. Darrington Press have released a new system, and oop, look at that, we're gonna snaffle up the designers who made 5e so big, so we can challenge 5.24e with Daggerheart, slay the dragon, and become the new rulers of the universe. Well, in my opinion, no. Daggerheart is not trying to kill D&D, it's not trying to be the next Dungeons & Dragons. Jeremy Crawford, whose position is game director at Darrington Press, isn't coming on board just to mess with or upgrade Daggerheart so it can take down D&D. I mean, just look at what he has to say on the subject. Here's a quote from the Darrington Press announcement page. "I can't wait to expand on what Critical Role has already created to develop some really fun and unique games." That doesn't sound like he's getting thrown into Daggerheart, he's talking about making new systems. Darrington Press are going to make more TTRPGs, and one of them will have Crawford at the helm. This is wildly different from D&D and Pathfinder. Those guys have a strategy built on brand dominance. They want everyone playing Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder because they're the people who own those systems, and so they get more money. Why create another game? Just try and occupy as much space and attention in the TTRPG scene with a single brand. But the way Darrington Press are talking suggests that they are going in another direction. Forget about monopolizing everybody's games and instead focus on making a bunch of different TTRPGs and game systems so that no matter who you are and no matter what type of game you like to play, there is a Darrington Press product for you. Or maybe there's 3 or 4 games for you. Having multiple products can't be bad for business, right? This means that every Darrington Press game could potentially pick up a new audience rather than just tapping the same audience year on year with another expansion. So I'd anticipate seeing, maybe in a couple of years, another Daggerheart-sized launch for a different TTRPG from Darrington Press. One that has Crawford as game director and occupies a different style of play to Daggerheart. And that sounds cool as a cucumber to me. And all of this tracks with Darrington's schedule. They've already got 3 games that are announced that have yet to be released. Presumably, there's gonna be more. As creative director for Darrington Press, Chris Perkins' role looks a lot broader, something that's reflected in his comments. "I'm beyond excited to help create new worlds full of adventure." I mean, he said more than that, but that basically sums it up. If we're gonna see more TTRPGs and board games from Darrington, then a creative director would be needed to oversee the worlds and all that world building that these systems can fit into. Chris will be hopping around, managing multiple games at once, and ensuring that whatever themes and ideas make each game unique are actualized. But most interestingly, creative director is the role that Travis had at Darrington Press until yesterday. He's essentially replaced himself with this hire. This speaks to a larger shift in how Critical Role is moving away from its core crew. We've already seen this in the live plays. They don't all feature the core gang anymore. We've got a much broader cast of regulars coming and going. Now, the game design roles are getting passed along as well as the performance obligations. After all, the Critical Role OGs have been kicking around for over a decade now. I think they're trying to shift the company a little bit so they're not carrying it all on their own backs. They're trying to build something bigger than themselves so they can hopefully take a day off once in a while, or maybe just straight up retire. I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but this is a step towards that, bringing on established industry players to shift the company in that general direction. Crawford and Perkins will do great work there. We can only assume they'll be given the creative freedom to really cut loose, because D&D will have been a probably fun but extremely restrictive environment to have worked in for the past 20 years. They will be frothing out of every orifice with creative ideas that can't be put into Dungeons & Dragons because that's the only property they've been able to play with for the past age. Being totally cut loose and given free rein to do whatever they want must be really exciting, and Darrington Press seems like a very exciting place to be right now. Of course, a company is a company, we have no idea what it's like behind closed doors, but at least theoretically, looks good. Either way, I know everyone's wishing them the best, and maybe we'll catch them in a few Critical Role shows as well. But to summarize, is D&D dead? No. Are Crawford and Perkins going to take over Daggerheart? No. Are they going to make some new games? Almost certainly yes. Finally, I am at GenCon this year. You can come and see me in a panel with Pointy Hat talking about homebrew content and being Eurotrash, and come to the big live event in the GenCon main hall. I'm in a game with the Dungeon Dudes, Deborah Ann Wall, Colby, and a special guest who I don't think I'm allowed to mention yet. Tickets are out now, link below, baby. Seriously, if you are going to GenCon, get your seats today. It is going to be amazing. And that's the news. Remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you next time.